To start off, I'll talk about Florence Griffith Joyner. She was born on December 21st, 1959, 7 out of 11 siblings, and from an early age, she had this passion for running, and she took that passion and thrived with it. But I'll get to that. But people really started to notice her in her college years, starting off in California State and then later in UCLA, and then once a lot of people started realizing, okay, this girl's fast and she's really good from like the experience from UCLA, she was able to try out for the Olympics in 1980 for the 1984 Olympics was going to take place in LA. And I apologize. And yes, she was also born in LA. I should mention that as well. And then when 1984 came, she participated in the Olympics. And I think for her that it was also her hometown, so she's like, okay, I'm gonna show you guys that I can do this, and she did. But that's not where her story ends. It would be 4 years later in 1988 in Seoul, Korea, where she would break the record for fastest woman in, well, not woman, but I mean anyone in general of the 100 and the 200 meter. And from there, she became like a name that everybody knew. And not only because of the fast record, but she was a really beautiful woman. If anyone's ever seen her photos, from the long hair to her pretty nails and the jewelry. And I like that about her. She was her authentic self. She's like, yeah, I'm running, but I'm gonna still look pretty, or I'm gonna still be me while doing it. Like, you're not gonna put this like fake persona about me out there. So, and then within those years after 1988, she did star on 2 shows. Well, she starred on many, but the 2 known shows would be Santa Barbara and 227. After her world-breaking record in 1988, a year later, she helped design the Indiana Pacers jerseys for the 1989 and 1990 season. You heard right. She helped design an NBA jersey. And what was significant around this time is because the Pacers were making their name in themselves. Yeah, the Bulls won the championship the year before, but the Pacers were trying to make a name. You had Reggie Miller as well. So for her to create this jersey at the time frame with everything going on, it's kind of cool. Like, it was really interesting to find this out when I found this out myself. I wonder if Reggie Miller ever had a chance to talk to her. I wonder if she got to meet the players. Like, I think that would be really cool. And if the players got to meet her as well. Or hopefully she got paid for it too. Because designing stuff is not cheap. But back to the story. And then in 1990, she experienced a grand mal seizure. Or better yet known today as tonic-clonic. But which a lot of people didn't know before her 1990 seizure is that she has experienced seizures throughout her life since a young age. When I was looking through the material, they didn't say like what specific age, they just said at a young age. So I'm just going to assume like maybe a child, early teen, potentially. And with that, 6 years later, she had a severe seizure on an airplane, which stopped at St. Louis, and where she stayed in St. Louis Hospital for a couple days. And that was in 1996. And at the same time in 1996, she tried to go for the Olympics, which would take place in Atlanta, but she was unable to do that due to brain injury. Now, the brain injury at the time, they're not sure of, but it was later found out she had cavernous hemangina. And I bet you I'm 90% sure I mispronounced that word in any way. And for those who are like, what the heck she said? Don't worry. It's up there as well with the pronunciation as well. If any questions or trying to explain it, this like, okay, what does name mean? And what it is just a abnormal blood vessel in your brain. When I looked at the sources, it wasn't determined how she got that, how she was diagnosed with that. It was only found out until after her death. In 1998, sadly on September 21st, on the 20th, she fell asleep, thinking she'll open her eyes again, but unfortunately she did not. Which resulted in the family suing St. Louis Hospital 4 years later. Well, 2 years later, I apologize. 4 years later from when she visited the hospital, and 2 years later after her death, due to medical neglect. When I mean by medical neglect, they didn't ask for her medical history. They didn't even try to retrieve her records. And if they did, they would have known her history with seizures, as well as if they did their job, they would have found the abnormal brain activity sooner. And maybe she would have been able to live today. She probably would live a wonderful life, and unfortunately that was taken from her. And for Florence Joyner's family and loved ones, I am truly sorry for your loss, and I do hope that her story gets heard of a lot more. And I do apologize that sadly it has not, and I hope that my story brings a little more spotlight into not only her name but her story, but also remember her for her achievements too.